Welcome back, everybody. It's Zach here, bringing us another fantasy football video. Similar to the last one here, I'm going to be recapping the NFL draft, highlighting the running back position this time. I'm not going to touch on every single running back that was drafted. I'm going to try and touch on the ones that I think matter, but I'll go as in-depth as I can. And of course, if there's any player that I don't mention, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to give you guys my opinion on those guys. It's just I don't necessarily feel like I need to give you guys a 2-minute spiel about guys drafted in the 7th round. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of really big names at the running back position we can talk about here. There are going to be a lot of very fantasy relevant for rookie running backs this year. Every year there's several running backs that finish inside the top 24 at the position as a rookie. And this year feels like a year we could see 5, even 6 guys finish inside the top 24. Lots of really important roles go into these guys, and definitely guys we want to be aware of heading into the season. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Again, any questions or anything, just let me know in the comments, and I'll be happy to give you guys my answers there. So yeah, looking forward to it. Let's get started here. So starting things off with obviously the crown jewel of dynasty drafts this season, we got Ashton Jeanty going number 6 overall to the Oakland Raiders, or Las Vegas Raiders, my bad. Jeanty's actually a stud. He's truly a generational prospect from everybody that seems to talk about him. Watching him play, I know he played at Boise State, but he's clearly an elite player. He might have been he couldn't have gone really much higher, but he certainly would have if he could have. He is going to receive a workhorse type workload in Vegas for a team that's going to want to run the ball a lot. You've got Chip Kelly, who should run a relatively high, fast pace offense, but you've also got Pete Carroll, who is certainly going to want to emphasize running the ball. He's more than capable as a pass catcher, and Geno Smith coming over there is certainly going to elevate this offense. You've got Jacoby Myers, you've got Brock Bowers going into year 2. You've got another rookie receiver they took in the 2nd round. I'm blanking. I think it's Beck is his last name. I'm blanking on his first name. But legitimately, Jeanty has it in him to finish as the RB1 overall this season. Not saying I would draft him like that, but I think it's fair for him to be like a fringe top 5 kind of guy this year, and I really do think that's his RB1 overall is certainly in his range of outcomes. The only concern would be the O-line play. It wasn't fantastic last season. Perhaps some limited touchdown upside if Geno and this offense struggles. New team for the quarterback. So there's certainly room for there to be some struggles here. But in general, Jeanty is a guy that I'm super excited about. We've seen, Bijan be a guy who's been super fantasy relevant on teams that haven't necessarily had the best offenses. Jeanty's a stud. He's going to be great. It's just a matter of how good the offense is in terms of how high he can finish, but he's going to be our RB1 next season if he stays healthy. The RB1 overall is certainly a possibility for him if he can get there. Next up, we got another guy that I'm super stoked about. We got Omarion Hampton, the only other running back going into the 1st round this year. It might take a little bit, but in my eyes, Omarion Hampton is already the starter in Los Angeles for the Chargers. I know they added Najee Harris this offseason as a free agent, effectively a 1-year deal. Harris, he's a good player, but he's by no means the level of talent that Hampton is at this point in his career. This is an offense in LA that made J.K. Dobbins an RB2 last season. Respect to J.K. Dobbins for coming back from the injury, but he is nowhere near the talent that Omarion Hampton is. Hampton's an elite talent. He's got a potential to be an RB1 this season. Even with Najee there, this is an offense that's going to want to predicate itself on running the ball. Lots of touchdown upside, which should be a really good offense. And this is an offense that should be even better than it was last season. You've got Ladd McConkey going into year 2. They obviously added a lot of talent at the running back position. It's year 2 for a system. We typically see that be a scenario where teams take a step forward. It's also just a huge bump for Justin Herbert. I think it's going to be more touchdown upside in general for this offense. Just a lot more opportunity here for this offense to be good, and I think it's certainly something we want to keep our eyes on there. So Hampton's a guy I'm super stoked about. He's probably going to go. He'll probably be drafted right around that fringe RB1 territory. I'm more than happy to draft him. He's the kind of player I like drafting, someone that's certainly going to trend up over the course of the season as he gets more and more comfortable in the offense, takes more and more snaps away from Najee. Maybe Najee's a little annoying and steals the occasional touchdown here and there, but basically they just went from J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards to Omarion Hampton and Najee Harris. This offense is going to look way different this year. Hampton's a stud. He's going to be a monster. I want him on a lot of my teams this year, and I think that he's the perfect RB2 for your roster because he's going to start out performing like that, and he's going to trend up, and I bet he could easily finish the year as a top 10 running back. Next up, we got Quinshon Judkins going early in the 2nd round to the Cleveland Browns. Immediately the starter for this team. Clearly, he's a really similar kind of player to Nick Chubb. I'm by no means saying that he is Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is a guy that perennial All-Pro, Pro Bowl talent. It's yet to be seen if Quinshon Judkins can do that out in the NFL field, but they're really similarly styled players. I think it's just a move by Cleveland here to try and recreate that identity. We'll see how good he is in terms of the NFL field, but like he's a good player. I think the offense is going to struggle and really limit him, especially early on in his career. You don't have a quarterback. The offensive line was mediocre last year, so it's going to limit him a little bit. And Jerome Ford is still there. He's going to steal some pass catching reps there. So Judkins is not going to be a workhorse by any means for this team, but he's also going to get starting caliber touches. I bet he sees 15 to 18 touches per game. Going to get the short yardage and goal line work. Of course, goal line work might be tough to come by for this team, but he's probably a low end running back too. He's got upside if this offense performs well. Maybe Joe Flacco goes on another run for this team. Maybe Shedeur Sanders comes out and elevates this offense. There's paths towards this offense being better than we expect it to be, but in general, I think the offense will limit him. I don't think he's a super explosive player. He's more of like a grinder between the tackles kind of player, so I don't think you're going to see him rip off any sort of big touchdown runs very often. So I think low end RB2 is right around where I view him as, a very Brian Robinson-esque kind of player for me. And honestly, I would prefer Brian Robinson just because he's tied to a better offense. But a guy you can start any given week, just not a guy that I think is going to win in your league by any means. Next, we got TreVeyon Henderson, also drafted in the second round, teammates with Quinshon Judkins, and he went in the second round to the New England Patriots. He's a much more explosive player than Quinshon Judkins, maybe not quite the bruiser between the tackles, but a better pass catcher, better in open space. He's got immediate upside here in fantasy, but I think it's going to be a little bit limited by the current situation. The Patriots are not an offense that we expect to be fantastic. I do like Drake May going forward. They're just limited in terms of what they have in terms of weapons on the offensive side. You got Stephon Diggs basically operating as the wide receiver one here. TreVeyon Henderson's maybe the second best offensive weapon they have at this point, if not the best offensive weapon. So I think he's going to be really good. I think you'll see probably 15-ish touches per game. They're not going to immediately just stop using Ramondre Stevenson. He's still going to be an important part of this offense, although if Ramondre were to fumble at some point early on in the year, that would certainly increase the upside here for TreVeyon, because Ramondre is not a guy that's tied to this coaching staff. You've got Mike Vrabel coming in, new head coach. There's room for them just to pick TreVeyon Henderson as their guy, and I think he's a better player than Ramondre. So there's definite upside here for TreVeyon, but of course you need things to break right. You need the offense to be good. You need Ramondre to fall out of favor, and then he can be a legitimate top 15, top 20 kind of guy for us. But otherwise, he's more of just like a flex low-end running back 2 kind of guy, a guy with PPR upside and someone that I like going forward in Dynasty, but immediately this year in 2025, probably more of like that low-end RB2 sort of fringe starter for us in fantasy. Next, we got one that's actually really exciting for me. We got RJ Harvey going also in the second round to the Denver Broncos. The Broncos are going to utilize several running backs. It's not Sean Payton's MO to use a single running back. You've always seen several running backs get used. Go back to Pierre Thomas and Reggie Bush. You've got Mark Ingram, Calvin Kamara. It's just the way he wants to run his offense. And I think we're probably going to see RJ Harvey and Audric Estime get some touches. McLaughlin will sprinkle in a little bit, but I think Harvey is sort of going to push McLaughlin off the field. That being said, Harvey is by far the best running back on this roster at this point. He is way better than anything they've had the last 2 years with Javonte and McLaughlin. There just has not been a lot of talent at the running back position on this roster, and they immediately got an explosive, talented runner in Harvey here. And beyond that, this offense is trending up. You've got Bo Nix, who looks like he's a promising ascending quarterback. Plenty of weapons to make things work here. You've got Sutton, who was really good for them last season. You've got Marvin Mims, who seemed to be coming into his own. And I think there's room for this offense to be really good this season, and RJ Harvey should be a big part of that. They're certainly going to utilize the running backs out of the backfield quite a bit, and Harvey's the kind of guy that could legitimately be an RB1 for us this season. And his wide range of outcomes, just because I think people aren't super stoked about him, makes him the kind of guy that I think I'm going to have on a lot of my rosters. I think he's somebody that people aren't as excited about as they should be, and I really think he could be a league winner for us. So I definitely want to be targeting him in my drafts and do what I can to get him on as many teams as possible, because I think Harvey's going to be the kind of guy that down the stretch is going to be really good for us this year. And the last running back I'm going to talk about in depth here is going to be Cam Skattebo. He's the last running back with like immediate upside as a rookie for me. He's the last one with like a clear path towards potentially being a starter on his team where he was drafted. Certainly, he's going to split touches with Tyrone Tracy. Tracy looked like he was a really talented player last year. I do like him. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to have a nice NFL career, but I don't think he's the kind of guy that's going to really earn like 20 touches a game. He's a guy that they want to sprinkle in as like a scat back, pass catching guy, use him in 2-minute drill situations, and maybe give him a few touches here and there out of the backfield. But I think Cam Skattebo is really good. He's going to be a really great bruiser down the middle of the offensive line. Breaks a lot of tackles, just really tough to tackle. Runs hard every single play. Reminds me a lot of a guy like James Conner. And I think this offense is going to be a little bit better than we saw last season. They really can't get any worse, but like Russ and Jameis or Jackson Dart, whoever ends up starting at quarterback, they are significant upgrades to what they had at quarterback last season, whether it be Daniel Jones or True Lock or Tommy DeVito. Those are not NFL level quarterbacks, and at least Russ and Jameis are guys that can support an offense and make them mediocre. And then you've got Malik Neighbors, who's obviously going to elevate this offense again in year two. Plenty of good wide receiver. You should get Andrew Thomas back. Should hopefully improve the offensive line. And I think this is a team that could be better this year as well. Like their defense looks to be really good with the addition of Abdul Carter. You've got Brian Burns. You've got Kayvon Thibodeau. You've got Dexter Lawrence. You've got a really good defensive line there. There's room for this defense to surprise and this team to maybe be like a 500 team, and that'll certainly help the upside for Cam Scatabo. So I think how it's going to split out is probably see about a 50-50 split between him and Tracy. It's going to make Scatabo probably not like a super great fantasy relevant option just because you've got running backs splitting touches on an offense that's not fantastic, but I think he's a really good player. Just keep an eye on him. He's a great late round dart throw. There's room for him to potentially just be the starter in this team, and I think he's a good player, so I just wanted to mention him for sure because there's a path towards him being a starter. Then just some quick hitters here. I wanted to go over a few other running backs I thought were worth mentioning. We've got Bashul Tutin, funny name there, being drafted in the fourth round of the Jaguars. He's the RB3 probably on this team behind Bigsby and ETN, but just got to note him. Spending a fourth round pick on a running back is not nothing, and I don't think this offense, it's a new coaching staff there, there's room for some shakeup in that offense. There were rumors of them going to get Jean-T and sort of just kicking ETN to the curb, so there's room for potential shakeup there, so just keep an eye on him. Speaking of ETN, his little brother Trevor, drafted in the fourth round of the Panthers. He'll be like a change of pace back for Chuba Hubbard this year. Worth noting, might be decent, like late round dart throw in PPR formats. The Panthers used a lot of running backs last year and had pretty quality offensive production out of them, and if something were to happen to Chuba, ETN could be somewhat relevant. Woody Marks went in the fourth round of the Texans. Not relevant unless Mixon gets hurt, but Mixon is old. If Mixon got hurt, there's room for him to potentially beat out Dameon Pierce as the RB2. Jadon Blue, drafted in the fifth round of the Dallas Cowboys. Honestly, as a path towards being the starter, they've got like Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders on the roster outside of him there, so your guess is as good as mine who's going to start there. I don't think Sanders or Javonte are really an answer, but the Cowboys don't seem to know what they're doing. So we'll see what happens there. Jordan James, drafted in the fifth round of the 49ers. Potential opportunity there for him to beat out Garendo and be the backup for McCaffrey. We know what a valuable role that can be, so we've got to keep an eye on that. Ollie Gordon, the second, drafted in the sixth round to Miami. More of like a thumper, more of like a between the tackles runner than either Javonte or than either Devon Achane or Jalen Wright. So he should have at least a role to some extent, maybe short yardage. I don't think it'll really hurt Devon Achane by any means, but just keep an eye on him. If he ends up vulturing 3 or 4 touchdowns at some point this year, don't be shocked at all. And then Devin Neal, drafted in the sixth round to New Orleans. Alvin Kamara just keeps getting older. Certainly not going to necessarily last forever there, so just keep an eye on that. If Kamara were to miss time, it'd be him or Kendre Miller between Devin Neal and him, so one of those guys will be relevant. He's worth noting because there's a path towards him being the backup. And that'll do it for the running back position here. Up next, I'll go over the recap of the NFL draft, the wide receiver position, tell you guys who I think is going to be fantasy relevant, players to keep an eye on in that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comments below. I love interacting with you guys there. Going to keep putting out videos for the course of the off season. Football's going to be here before we know it, so super excited, getting really super stoked for this upcoming season, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.